Hey YouTube, today I'm going to show you how to cut, trim, and tie an entire beef tenderloin. Alright, we don't do steaks or roasts or beef all that often, and when we do, I do everything I can to make sure we have the best possible food for the least possible price. So Christmas is coming, and I decided that this year I was going to splurge and get a whole tenderloin. This is what I got, and it's big. There's 9 pounds here, but I want you to see this right here. $10.68 a pound. Ricky, do you mind? Can they even see that? Thank you. $10.68 a pound. Nice. When I was at the grocery store earlier today picking up a couple things, I saw Filet Mignon for $23.98. So this is less than half price. Now, the trade-off, you buy the whole thing and you gotta know how to deal with it, right? So that's what I'm gonna show you. This comes in a cryovac package, and you see all this juicy stuff? That stuff is called purge. It's kind of a combination of blood and the liquid and the juices. It's kind of gross, but it's actually part of what is considered a wet aging process. That's in opposition to a dry aging process. Now, dry aging, of course, is when you keep beef just above. I'm cutting this over here right now because I'm going to drop this right over the counter into my trash can. Anyway, you keep beef right above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And you keep the air circulating. Let me let that drip off. It's a little bit gross. Anyway, you keep the air circulating around it, and be prepared if you do this, you're just going to have a lot of paper towels. That's part of the process. Anyway, you keep the air circulating around it, and you get a gamier, nuttier, richer taste to the final product. One of the problems with it is, though, you get a lot of shrinkage to dry aging due to moisture loss. And often you'll have to trim the outside of your meat further, which means more loss of product. With wet aging, which is what happens when you do the cryovac thing like this for beef, with wet aging, you have much more retention of product. It's a product. My sister's over here, she's laughing at me. She laughs at me too much. I'm going to have Ricky turn around, put the camera on her. Oh no. Because she hadn't gotten really dressed yet. Alright, so get it nice and dry. Makes it easier to work with, easier for you to see what you're doing. And you've got 2 sides to this. Top side, riblet side. See? 2 sides. We're going to start on this side. Now, I've heard people refer to this as both the head and the butt. Go ahead, Ricky. Butt head. You didn't pick up on that? That was so easy. I let you walk right into it. First thing we're going to do is...
He let you walk right into it.
Yeah, he let me walk right. Thanks, Ricky. Thanks for having my back. Alright, we got to do some trimming on this guy. So you see this stuff? This all comes off first. This is just like a membrane thing. It's not silver skin. Now, a few weeks ago, we watched a really excellent, if you can find it, it was on Netflix, it's not on Netflix right this second, but it's Alton Brown from a few years back, and he had 2 episodes where he was talking, I think he called it Tender is the Loin. It was all about doing this exact same thing. Anyway, my 7-year-old saw it. He was talking about silver skin, and he got obsessed with silver skin and whatever that is. Well, I'll show you what it is in just a second. But first, we want to get all this stuff off the top. We're opening it up. Now, a lot of people throw all this away. You know, nothing goes to waste in this kitchen. So we are not throwing it away. I'm stashing it over here. Now, this part, we are almost to where I can show you. You're going to have 3 sections to this loin, tenderloin. And, yep, I got it uncovered. Alright, so here's 3 sections. And this is just the different muscles. First thing you're going to do is run your hand right down through here. Bladen's over here going, ugh. This piece right here, this is the tenderloin itself. This right here is called the chain. And it is phenomenal. A lot of times you don't see any application of this anywhere, and that's because this is tender, it's flavorful, and chefs keep it all to themselves. So I think of, if you buy a whole tenderloin, kind of like a gift with purchase, right? Extra stuff. We're going to set that aside, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that, but we're going to keep working on this first. All right, now we've got that uncovered. I have some pretty significant bits of fat. We're going to lift that off, and that's going in our fat pile. And we've almost got this second thing, the butt or the head or whatever you want to call it. Almost got that membrane uncovered. Here we go. Okay, like you can see, I did most of that simply pulling on it with my hands. And those muscles are really easy to see. So if you're going to try butchering some large pieces, this is a great one to start with. I hope nobody calls me, because then you're going to hear my Rocky Top ringtone, because I forgot to turn my phone off. Before I go any further, I want to show y'all something. You see how this piece, here's the loin part, right? And this is the part that's called the head, or the butt, either one. Now, if you want to, from this piece right here, you can trim it here, and then tie it so that your piece is nice and even, and you can use this as a roast all by itself, okay? This part, the center of this, is called the Chateaubriand, and this is what is often referred to as Filet Mignon, this section right here. Although the entire thing is filet. Does that make sense? Ricky's looking a little bit puzzled. You stay with me? Don't get too worried about it. My point is, you can do whatever you want to with this right now. You have this entire beautiful 9 pounds, and you can cut it into just roasts. You can, I don't know why you would, but you could dice the whole thing and use it in things like, I don't know why you'd use it in a stir fry, but if you had to, great. You could make some incredible Philly cheesesteak sandwiches if you wanted to. Or you could cut the entire thing into the steaks that are usually called filet mignon, right? We're going to do a combination of those. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to remove this head, okay? Now, we're going to simply follow the line that it's already giving us. And in this case, you really do want a super sharp knife. You just do. I usually deal with it if my knives are not in fabulous condition, but yesterday I picked up a couple new fillet knives. They were like $8. I think that's my sister texting me because she's in the other room, and of course she's not allowed to talk to me at the moment. All right, you see this little thing right here? That's where we start with the silver skin. We'll deal with that next. Anytime you see silver skin, it's got to go. Now, I save everything, of course. I will use every speck of this tenderloin somehow, except for the silver skin. I may end up throwing it in my stock pot. Probably not. I just get rid of that. It does not cook out. It doesn't render. It doesn't, you can't melt it. It doesn't get tender. There's nothing you can do with the silver skin. It's just yuck. So we want to get rid of that membrane. All right, now, this is the head. Boom. That goes over here to deal with in a minute. Now, a tenderloin is very lean. It does have some surface fat. It has a few chunks here and there. But for the most part, the only fat you're going to have is inside, and that's from the marbling, right? To deal with this silver skin, though, yep, there's a piece right there. The silver skin is this stuff, and you can see the difference. Ricky, can you see the texture of that? Is that showing up well? To help if I move, you see that? It's got a little sheen to it. I guess there is part of it that could be considered silver. But to get rid of that, the best thing to do is to take the tip of your knife, pull it up, slide that under. Now, I'm not perfect at this. I've got pretty good knife skills, but tilt the blade of your knife up a little bit And that way you'll get the most silver skin and the least beef. And then we're going to come this way, and we're tilting our knives up in order to preserve as much of the meat as possible. I think if I did this much more regularly, I'd be a lot faster. See, very little of the meat has gone to waste. If I did this regularly, I'd be a lot faster, but don't worry about it. You know, if you're a home cook like me, which is probably why you stumbled on my channel, thank you, by the way, you don't have to be fast. You need to be careful. There we go, Ricky. That's one of my, put that in your book of, I'm sure you've got a book somewhere of all the smart things I've told you over the years. You need to put that in there. Did you snort at me? I think Ricky is amused at the thought of maintaining my vast wisdom. Actually, I am too. Probably a good thing my sister's not in here. She'd be cackling. Alright, so all I'm going to do here for just the next couple minutes is finish removing this silver skin, and then we're going to go to work on some of this extra fat, but I'll be back and I'll show you what that looks like once I got this stuff off. Alright, we're back. I just got rid of the rest of that silver skin. There's one sneaky little bit right here. If you leave some on there as you cook it, the silver skin will contract and can pull your meat up out of shape and mess up your cooking times, and you'll feed it to somebody and they won't be able to eat it, and they'll talk and giggle and talk about you behind your back. Okay, here we go. Now I turned him over, and we do have some pockets here. I'm not going to worry too much about getting rid of all this fat. I'm going to get rid of the big chunks, just because it's not lovely to bite into. Most of the time it will melt and it will render off as you cook it. And again, it's a little different if you're going to cook it for 35-40 minutes as a whole roast, and if you're going to give it, you know, 4 minutes aside as a steak. Here we go. Leave that, leave that. Okay, we are ready. Just double checking for silver skin. That's not silver skin, but I can take it off anyway. Now, before I cut this, a couple things that you can do. You notice it's not exactly the same, what is this, thickness all the way across. So if you want to turn this into a roast and do the entire tenderloin, you can fold this part under, trim this section, tie it real well all the way across there, and you've got a roast, right? That's all there is to that. We, however, are going to move over here to my cutting board. Hang on, baby. You notice I had the foil out here to kind of do some mess containment, because it will make a mess. Alright, so what we're looking for at this point is thickness, okay? So I'm going to come right here. Now, this little guy off the end is too small and too thin to be considered a fillet, right? You wouldn't serve that as a fillet. What you can do, however, you can butterfly it by cutting it down the middle and opening it up, or you can trim it into what is called a tornado, and you can sear these off, and these are about a portion. So if you have two, which would be about like that, see? That's what that is. This little guy is just a weird shape. He's going to go over here for the other weird shapes we have. And then we want to cut our fillets. So I'm going to come here, and this piece will also be here. There. Most of the time you have a 6 or an 8 ounce fillet, and just, you know, from experience, you would trim about here for an 8 ounce and here for a 6 ounce. I'm going to trim, you with me? I'm going to do this
this way. One. Two. Come into this side. And you notice I'm not hacking. I'm going straight down. Probably could have gotten my butcher's knife out to do this part, but then I'd have to wash another knife. But you want a nice clean surface. You don't want it chopped up. And that's the marbling. This was a, let's see, what is it? Choice? Yes. You have prime, choice, and select. Choice is what you find where, you know, the big box stores where I got this guy. Very hard to find prime unless you have a specialty source. I'm sure if you live in a big city it'd be easier for you. I have to drive an hour just to get this, so not a possibility here. But those gradings, choice, prime, or select, are based on how much marbling is in the meat. And in this case, we got choice. Now, I have some options with this. I have 4 steaks, I've got little tornadoes, I have this entire chain, and I have the head left to deal with. And I can either turn this into a roast or I can cut fillets out of this. This guy, however, I'm going to turn into a roast. I want about, I'm going to cut one more piece, one more fillet. Yes. Now look what's happened. I have a beautiful roast. This is the Chateaubriand part, right? I have this gorgeous little roast, and he's not even going to have to be tied. So I'm going to set him aside, wash my hands, and I'm going to come back and show you how to deal with these guys, okay? So I put all our trimmed pieces, I put the roast and the steaks in the fridge, and now I'm working on the portion that is the head. And first thing you want to do, this is too much fat. This is these big chunks, you want to get rid of those. And I am saving everything over here because we're also going to make beef stock, because homemade beef stock is gorgeous. Now I want to get rid of all this stuff though, because I want to tie this guy up and I'll have another roast. One of the fun things about these weird shapes is once you get them all trimmed up, you can use butcher's twine to do just about anything you want to them. You don't want all the fat, but these big chunks, that needs to go, because that's not going to be something nice to bite into. And these guys, you can see this is big enough that if you wanted to, you could trim several steaks out of here. Also, the nice thing about doing it yourself, you can do whatever you want to. It's your food. You are in control. All right, Ricky. There's one more chunk of fat right there. Dang it. I almost pulled it off. There we go. Now, we have this very strange shape, right? And that's not going to cook very evenly unless we give it some help. So, Ricky, pull a good length of, hand me the end of the butcher's, just the end. I don't want to touch the whole thing because I've got yucky hands. So you can get just cotton string off of Amazon. Hold it still for me. Here we go. Make sure it's food safe. You look for butcher's twine. And it does not take, right, don't worry about people that are telling you you've got to use certain knots or what have you. Anything that holds the shape is perfectly fine. Now that's a surgeon's knot. Hang on, I'll show you how I did that. If I can get my hands to work correctly. So a surgeon's knot, make it easier for you. You're going to come under here, and you're tying a granny knot, 1, but then you're going to make a second loop, 2, right? And you're going to snug it pretty well, and then you don't have to do that whole put your finger right here thing. See? Just like that. And repeat. And it does take a couple minutes, but that's not that big a deal. Oh, I got stuck. Hang on. I didn't trim it. And last one. I've got my string backwards. Got a neighbor's kid over here and he's on the computer and he's cracking up if you're wondering what's in the background. That's it. All tied up. And then you want to trim these guys off. Or leave them. I mean, it doesn't matter. Okay, loose. I like to trim them. There. And there. This one is also going to come over here. We're going to stick him in the fridge until we're ready to deal with him, because now we're going to do this chain. Same thing. You want to get rid of all the fat. So I'm going to take a minute or two and just pull this fat off, because I think that this needs to be beef stroganoff. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Alright, all I did was pull all these bits and pieces and most of the big chunky fat off the chain. And there's not a whole lot left under there once you do that, but it is really wonderful stuff. Okay, you can cut this however you want to. You know, my knife I was so happy I bought. That's what you get for buying a cheap knife. Anyway, this is all there is to it. I'm just cutting it into pieces that will be good for beef stroganoff. And as I run across any extra bits of fat, I'm trimming those off. And there, that's going in there. Because this, we're going to make beef stock out of. We're going to do that next. But this is all there is to it. And this is bonus. So I've got 6 portions of filet mignon. I got 5 actual steaks, and then the tornadoes, which are a 6th portion. So I have 6 portions of filet mignon. I have 2 roasts, one of which is the Chateaubriand. The other one is from the head, which I tied, so it can be roasted. I have this. Oh, did I run? Yep, a little piece of silver skin in there. Look. See that? I'm going to get rid of that. I have this, which I'm going to use probably for beef stroganoff, I think. And that's going in my stock pot. So we've used every portion of this. Now, I'm going to stick this in the refrigerator because I'm not ready to make the whatever it is, beef stroganoff, thank you. This goes right here, and we're going to begin building to make beef broth, okay? Beef stock. All right, there you go. Now you know how to trim and tie a whole tenderloin. I hope you give it a try. I mean, we honestly don't do this very often. I think the last time I did one was about, oh my gosh, it's been several years. But when you do, if you do it yourself, if you take time to just work slowly, work carefully, and pay attention, you'll be able to get it for less than half of what you can buy it at the grocery store. So if you've got a holiday season coming up, like that's why I bought mine, then, you know, take a shot, try it out. You'll be glad you did. So if this has helped at all, do me a favor, hit like and hit subscribe. Find us on Pinterest and Facebook. We have a Patreon page now. And come back and see us. We're always making videos.